Hi everyone, Tony here. Hope you're doing well. I have a special guest who's no stranger to the show, Matty Greenspan, who's a senior market analyst at eToro. Matty, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Tony. It's a pleasure.
Matty, there's a lot going on in the crypto market, and we definitely want to touch on a few important items. And the first being, it seems there's a bullish sentiment in the air. We're not in a bull market, of course, but it seems this sentiment is changing, and it's coming from different fronts. I think government-wise, big money, just even crypto projects. We see like Litecoin had a pump recently, and then we had Tron and the BitTorrent partnership. What are you guys seeing on the eToro front?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. We've seen a nice pop over the weekend, and the good news is that pop came with strong volumes, which is an incredible sign. These are very encouraging moves, but we are a far cry away from a bull market. We haven't seen any indication that the bear market is over. But we have been looking for a bottom for a while, and it's quite possible that we found it already.
Yeah, it's interesting because some folks are saying, we could go further down. Some saying we possibly hit the bottom already. And it's hard to tell. Obviously we can't predict the future, but you believe there's still some bottoming out to be done, or you think may have. And obviously this is just probabilities, not certainties.
Right. So, generally speaking, we have a great disconnect between the technical analysis and the fundamental analysis, where the charts are showing us this big giant wedge on Bitcoin, which is a descending triangle. That's a very bearish pattern. On the other hand, as far as the fundamentals are concerned, we are seeing quite strong fundamentals where we see transactions rising across many different cryptos. And we're seeing real world use cases, especially Venezuela. The peer-to-peer volumes in Venezuela are off the charts. We saw a spike in Indonesian volumes, which just came out of nowhere.
Interesting.
If they're seeing, for me that's 260 million people, and that's one of the world's biggest remittance markets. So if they're suddenly finding the benefits of crypto, that's just incredibly bullish for the industry. We saw Jack taking the torch.
Yeah.
Right? Jack Dorsey took the Lightning Network torch. These are incredible fundamental news that just puts the wind in the sails of the crypto market.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a disconnect. So at the moment, and over the past year, over the past 2 years, the technicals have been winning, right? During the bull market, all fundamental news was good, and during the bear market, all fundamental news was bad.
Yeah. It's so funny how that works. And the Jack Dorsey statements, especially talking about Lightning Network into integration into the Cash App, I think that's big. So looks like a bright future from that standpoint.
Exactly.
Now, we got the battle for the ETFs. We got some withdrawals and then refiles from the VanEck folks due to the government shutdown, even though the government may shut down again this Friday. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Fingers crossed. Then we also had the NYSE ARCA Bitwise ETF who threw their hat in the ring. And then yesterday we heard about the Reality Shares bundled Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot there. What is your overall thoughts as far as ETFs and when we potentially may see some movements? And could the Reality Shares open up the door for an approval?
Yeah. So as far as the VanEck and Bitwise, I believe that the SEC has made themselves pretty clear. So out of 4 members of the SEC at the moment, so we have Hester Pierce. Obviously, she's a great crypto bull.
Yeah.
She's got the nickname Crypto Mom. Right, and she continuously blogs about the benefits of crypto and that she thinks that an ETF should be approved. Elad Roisman, who is he's very new to the SEC. He was just recently appointed in September, and also we know that he's a great crypto advocate. Jackson, just last week, said that he thinks that a Bitcoin ETF will be approved eventually. Yeah. So he says, okay, yeah, we have concerns, but we think that they'll be assuaged eventually. The tough walnut is the chairman, right?
Yes.
And he's the main decision maker, Jay Clayton.
Yes. Yeah.
And his, the last thing that we heard from him is the market is just not ready for it. There's still too much manipulation going on. and therefore we're not going to approve it anytime soon. What does anytime soon mean? We don't know.
Right.
The reality, the reality proposal, and I just keep thinking to myself, I'm just in shock that like nobody's ever thought of this before, and this isn't this is something that we've been advocating in eToro for a very long time, right? So it's good that people are excited about trading because of crypto, but to have something a portfolio that's 100% based on crypto is extremely risky.
Yeah.
So the fact that Reality is proposing, an ETF that's based on a basket of cryptocurrencies and a maximum exposure of only 15%, it's surprisingly groundbreaking. We don't know what the SEC is going to. I tried to tweet to Crypto Mom this morning. She hasn't responded yet. I'm very interested to see what they think about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a game changer. And like you said, it's like, wait, why didn't anyone think about this before? Where you set up the infrastructure where you can get your foot in the door. It's not just crypto specifically. So it looks like maybe it has a good chance of getting through. So that I think it'll be a big win. And obviously, like you mentioned, Jay Clayton, he's the chairman. He's kind of the guy on the fence right now, and Hester Peirce and Robert J. Jackson are kind of bullish and more pro crypto. But it seems like there are concerns about custodian services as well as market manipulation are being addressed to a certain degree. I mean, you have the big players like your Bakkt and your ErisX and these other folks who are going to launch custody services. Do you think that's enough to address that particular concern of theirs?
Well, Bakkt, and I certainly think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going full in on this one, right? They're not pulling any punches. They're making their investments. Bakkt just acquired an entire trading company.
Yes.
They're not waiting. They're going forward, and from all the communication that they're giving us, they're saying that this is an excellent service. It looks like it's going to be an excellent service, but we do need to wait for the relevant authorities to sign off on it.
Yeah, and I mean, it just seems like Fidelity and all these big players are getting in, and that looks like it may, given that they have the existing infrastructure, they have the know-how, the history. So I think that might work in our favor there. However, yesterday I heard Rick Edelman, who's a top Wall Street financial advisor, he did mention that really the SEC can't really complain about manipulation because gold and oil are global and they go through the same, obviously not as volatile, but they have a similar setup where the SEC doesn't have control over world markets. So what do you think about that? I think that's a valid statement. The SEC may have to just ignore that aspect of it.
Yeah, so all markets are susceptible to manipulation. So the fact that they're have maybe a little bit of a double standard, but it's understandable because this is a new product.
Yeah,
and especially as far as a regulator is concerned, if something does go wrong, right, it's on their head.
Sure,
people are going to be banging down their door. Whereas, the cost for not approving something that would have been fantastic and then things go right, there's nobody going to be banging down your door and going, hey, why didn't you approve this? So I understand their desire to err on the side of caution, especially when investors' funds are at stake, and it's their job to protect those investors. On the other hand, I do believe that the United States in this case is moving a lot slower than some other regions,
sure.
Faster than some, obviously, and slower than some, and they might be missing out here. So I hope that things go through as quickly and as positively as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to see the United States kind of lead the charge as they did in the dot-com boom in the 90s. And I do feel like we're lagging behind.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
Right? We're still very much in the beginning of this. So there is still a chance for them to pull ahead, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, finally, outside of Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum, the top three, what other projects do you feel have real potential? And of course, this is not financial or investment advice.
Right. Yes, thank you for that critical disclaimer there. So I've been astonished by the moves in Litecoin recently.
Yep.
We're talking about 80% over the last month. I mean, if we look at Litecoin's chart, they've broken out of the descending triangle weeks ago. They've had a lot of great updates on the fundamental side. Also, we can see if we look at the Lightning transactions per day, which is one of my favorite metrics to watch as far as usage of a blockchain, you can see that it flattened out and bottomed at 20,000 transactions per day.
Sure.
So basically, and that happened months ago, right? So there was a decline, when the air was being let out of the bubble, but ever since April, they have not gone below 20,000 transactions per day. And to me, probably the speculators might have, either stayed in Bitcoin or moved on to some of the more hip, newer projects. But when we see, an old incumbent like Litecoin, you see their transactions bottoming out. I think that's an incredibly encouraging sign as far as the usage of that network goes. I'm also inspired by EOS. We see a lot of activity on the development front, a lot of developers, especially in the gaming industry, moving towards EOS, and I really like their token economics. Right, the fact that EOS is considered digital real estate. So if Bitcoin is digital gold and Litecoin is digital silver, Ethereum is digital crude. So EOS is like real estate, where if you hold a token, they're not introducing new tokens, right? So the demand on those tokens should grow over time as the network grows. So that's kind of there isn't really much inflation happening there. So it's pure deflationary asset, which is why. In my personal portfolio, and this is not trading advice, EOS is the top crypto that I'm holding at the moment.
Awesome. Very insightful. Any thoughts on Cardano, which seems to have a lot of potential? Obviously, still needs to do a lot of proving, and having partnerships and so forth. Any thoughts on that?
So I still see Cardano as a baby. Yeah. I think that it does have amazing potential and some brilliant minds and brilliant computing principles behind it, but we don't see the same level of developers using the platform as we do with Ethereum and EOS.
Right.
So as far as that's concerned, I mean, if we're playing a long game, certainly it's worth having in your portfolio, but I don't see, I don't see any kind of urgency as far as that's concerned. So let's let the developer community build up around it before we go forward.
That makes sense. I'm on the same boat here. I'm just waiting to see what they're going to do. I have some, but still they need to show their worth a bit.
They need to step it up.
Yeah,
they really do. They need to step it up.
And finally, on that note of smart contract platforms and so forth, what are your thoughts on Tron and even the recent BTT token ICO?
So unfortunately, we don't have Tron on the eToro platform at the moment, which is because there's thousands of different cryptos, I really try to focus on the ones that we have here, and that way I can be more attentive to updates within them. What I do want to say about the BTT token introduction, it makes sense to me that it kind of surged at the beginning, because I believe that that Binance and Tron kind of undershot demand when they were introducing them. So basically, there was a large demand. They knew that there was a large demand coming in.
Yeah.
And basically, they sold out the ICO within 18 minutes. And according to CZ, it could have been done in seconds if they had not had technical difficulties. But you knew in advance that was the demand that you were going to get.
Sure.
So why not do something where you can at least let the players come in and let people come and invest over the course of a few hours or even a few days, and have kind of a running ICO rather than creating a bottleneck, which is in essence what they've done. And
exactly.
I think that's it's an interesting play as far as marketing is concerned, or marketing the demand for the token. That right out the gate, it's rising, and that looks very good on paper. But I think that we need to really wait until the market kind of evens out before we can even say what this thing is really worth. I I've been watching the BitTorrent project. I'm not going to say I've been using the BitTorrent project. I've been watching the BitTorrent project since before crypto was ever invented, right? Since Napster went down, file sharing needed to move to a decentralized, kind of environment, and it has been decentralized. We're talking about decentralized computing before pre-Bitcoin, and they have. I believe the last estimate that I saw was 150 million active users.
Yep.
And when you're talking about introducing a new token, it's much easier when you have an existing environment with an existing network. And Absolutely. On that front, I think that they do have a good use case that over time, if they do the integration correctly, that this thing will hold value.
Awesome. Maddie, always insightful, always a lot of great information. And everyone, if you would love to check out eToro and check out their services, I'll have a link in the description, as well as some profiles to links to Maddie's profiles, Twitter and LinkedIn. Definitely check those out. Maddie, as always, it's great to have you on board, and we'd love to have you on again.
It's an honor and a privilege, Tony. Thanks a lot for having me, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Maddie. Take care.
Bye.